Go ahead, Dwindle. I bet he wouldn't even go up there to Ganymede. I sure wouldn't. I'd be scared to death, Dwindle chattered, waving his finger. How's he gonna get back, even if he gets there okay? Couldn't anyone fool me with a bunch of pretty talk? I know the government doesn't have a rocket that could take off again after it got there. Gotta have launching pads and computers and all that stuff. Government ever think about that? Jones held his head in anguish. Dwindle, why don't you be a good boy and run along to the snack bar for a coffee break, and bring me some aspirin when you get back. Freddy the Fish, Willie, and Oscar Frank were occupying the same bench, a comradeship made necessary by the overpopulation of the park on such a glorious day. Oscar was surveying the passing girls and scouting for worthwhile cigarette stubs. Willie was admiring a hovering beetle's power of flight, and Freddy was reading a discarded copy of Scientific American. The beetle landed on Willie's sleeve and promptly located a gaping tear in the fabric through which bare arms showed. Willie raised his other hand menacingly. Don't, Freddy barked, causing Willie to jump with enough force to dislodge the beetle. Aw, Freddy, Willie whined, why didn't you let me kill it? What good's a stupid bug? That would have been a rather unfortunate kill, Willie, by your bare hand on your bare arm. You must learn to be cognizant of our insect friends and insect enemies. So what's he, poison or something? Unpleasant at least, Freddy said. That was a blister beetle. Smash it on your arm and you'll grow a nice welt. A member of the Meloidae family. You mean bugs have families and all, too? Willie asked. Beetle families are groupings of similar species of insects, Freddy explained, not actually kinfolk. For instance, this beetle is related to the Litta vesicatoria of southern Europe, more commonly known as the... Freddy glanced out of the corner of his eye at Oscar, hoping to shield the next bit of information from his perverted brain, and whispered the name. Willie's eyes widened. Hey, Oscar, he hollered, jumping up. You hear what Freddy said? That bug I almost swatted's practically a Spanish fly. Which way'd he go? Oscar squeaked, allowing his collection of stubs to scatter as he hopped around, looking on and under and behind the bench for the escaping insect. Hold it, Freddy commanded, trying to restore order. I said it's like it, not is it. It doesn't have what it takes, so skip it, huh? Willie and Oscar sat down again. Freddy, Willie sighed with adoration, how'd you ever get so smart? I mean, being a bum and all. I keep telling you guys, I went to nothing but the finest universities. Well, except toward the end, when I was getting desperate. I guess I wasn't so choosy. Aw, go on now, Freddy. Colleges cost money, and you're as poor as the rest of us, bumming for a cup of coffee and all the time talking about Yale and Oxford and Harvard. What would you say, Willie, if I told you that once I belonged to the richest family in Mississippi? I'd say Mississippi was a pretty poor state, Willie said, and Oscar giggled. I was once Frederick Van Smelt, spoiled son of the wealthy shrimp and oyster scion. And there's nothing as bad, my father said, as spoiled smelt. He disowned me, of course. I owned 6 Cadillacs, one right after the other. I wrecked them all. I traveled all over the world and probably counteracted $1 billion worth of foreign aid. I was kicked out of the best schools in the world. How come if you're so smart you flunked out of all them schools? Oscar asked. Me? Flunked out? I never made less than an A in any course I took during my 8 years at war with college. I was expelled from 9 schools and barely escaped the highway patrol when I was bootlegging at Oklahoma University. Freddy, Willie said, you're lying like a dog, but you make it sound so real. Jones squirmed uncomfortably in his seat in the briefing room, phrasing and rephrasing his thoughts. It seemed that no matter which arrangement of words he chose, it was still going to be obvious that he'd flopped. He re-examined his fingernails and selected one which was still long enough to chew. General Marcher concluded his current appraisal of the situation and began calling on the various individuals with whom certain phases of Operation Space Case had been entrusted. Jones groaned as each arose and gave favorable progress reports. "The pod is completed and has been tested, sir. It will by no means be a plush, but it will be sufficiently comfortable even for the long voyage to Ganymede. The guidance system is perfected to the extent that we need. There are no further deceleration problems to be solved. The crash program has been approved for the two-way rocket. It is on the drawing board, and current estimates are that the Envoy can be brought back in 3 years. Ganymede has replied to our last message. A suitable artificial environment will be available for the Envoy. Personnel Specialist Jones." Carlton gave his chin a final sweaty rub and slowly rose to his feet. "General Marcher, sir," he choked, we're experiencing a little difficulty in finding a volunteer so far." "Negative perspiration on that count, Jones," the project officer interrupted. "The draft has never been abolished. We can grab anyone you put your finger on. Now, who will it be?" "Sir, it doesn't seem to be that so much as, well, sir, has any consideration been given to perhaps sending a delegation rather than a single envoy?" The general smiled broadly. "Now that is more like it. I take it you mean you have a number of equally qualified persons who have expressed an intense desire to go to Ganymede, and there is no way to impartially select one of these men over the others? This is commendable. However, our space limitation clearly precludes sending more than one person. I'm afraid you will just have to make your choice from a hat." Jones turned a trifle redder. "That's not exactly the problem either, sir." The general's smile wilted and became a frozen frown. "Just exactly what are you trying to say, Jones?" "There's no one who can meet the qualifications, sir," Jones said, feeling sick to his stomach. "Are you telling me that in the entire United States there is not one person who has a basic understanding of the 24 major fields?" "I'm afraid that's right, sir." "See me after the briefing, Jones. I'm certain that the foremost personnel specialist in the United States must have some further ideas on this matter." Jones sank slowly back into his seat and covered his face with his hands. "I'm a goner," he whispered to himself. "Jones, you can be replaced." Dwindle, sitting on his left, suddenly punched him vigorously in the ribs. "Say, Mr. Jones," he rattled, "I just thought of a great idea." "Tell it to the general," Jones moaned. "Maybe then he'll realize what a handicap I've been working under." "Hiya, Freddy," Willie said, sitting down on the bench, helping himself to some peanuts. "Working a crossword puzzle?" Freddy pocketed his pencil stub and laid aside the newspaper. "No, not this time. Just playing around with one of those 'We're looking for bright young men' ads." "Freddy, you ain't thinking of getting a job?" "Nothing like that," Freddy laughed. "Just exercising my mind. Filling out one of those little tests they always have. Helps keep a fellow sharp, you know." "Yeah, I seen the kind. Like what has pictures and you're supposed to find things wrong in the picture, like dames with beard and dogs with 6 feet." "Kinda like that. Only this one's all written and is a little tougher. You're supposed to send the answers in, and whoever has good answers gets to take a tougher test, and whoever does good on that test gets the job. Probably selling neckties on the corner or something." "No kiddin'. That's what it says?" "Just says handsome rewards, but that's probably close to it." "You gonna send it in?" Willie asked. "No, I just fill 'em out for fun, like I said. Can you imagine me peddling neckties on the corner?" Then how do you know if you got the right answers?